5 financial decisions that changed our lives, and they can change yours too.
Brent, I am so excited about this because often we have the opportunity to share mistakes that we've made, and we want you guys to learn from our mistakes. But today's episode is a little bit different. We've actually thought through some decisions we've made in our lives that have actually turned out pretty good. And what's interesting is there are some lessons that we have taken away from each of those decisions we made that we want to share with you to hopefully help you do money better.
I'm glad you focused on it because I will say one of the things I was very proud of as I was writing Millionaire Mission is I did share a lot of my regrets, even my mistakes. But today I love that we're actually going to celebrate some of those good decisions. You know, we have a friend who actually was kind of a mentor in a lot of ways. He said, guys, you're never going to know the best day you've ever worked. You never know what small decision you're going to make that will actually have its own spider web of change that actually impacts your entire life. So today it's fun to kind of reminisce and look back at these 5 decisions that probably at the time seemed so small, but now they've had a huge ripple effect and have changed our life, but we've also created teachable moments in each one of these experiences.
All right, Brian, so let's jump into the first one. This one is decision number 1. I'm going to give you credit for this one, although I had a similar experience. You said saving $100 a month. What's the story there? What was the decision that was made?
Oh, Mr. Morrow in that economics class wasn't even part of the curriculum, but Mr. Morrow walked in one day, and I don't know if this was out of his own financial regret or if he just learned the power of compounding growth, but he walked in one day and said, guys, if every one of you would just save and invest $100 a month, you'd be a millionaire by the time you retired. And I remember going, whoa, what are you talking about? And you guys know we have a wealth multiplier. If you go to moneyguy.com/resources, that will show you exactly what every dollar in your army of dollar bills has the potential to become. And that's exactly what Mr. Morrow was talking about. $100 a month really can change your life.
Well, I think when you and I were talking pre-show, you said, here's the reason why this was so big. What this did for me is it got me started. It got me to make that first step. And that's so true about a lot of things in our lives. If we want to see meaningful change, whether it's working out or paying off debt or some task that maybe you don't want to do, if you can just make that first small step, if you can make that first inch forward, it's amazing how you can build up momentum. And for you on your wealth building journey, it was recognizing that first $100. It got you started moving in that direction.
It's almost like if you can give me a little bit, just a little bit of discipline, a little bit today, you can have that great, big, beautiful tomorrow. And we have a case study to kind of highlight this.
Yeah, so let's think about 3 different savers. Let's think about Alvin, who's the go-getter. Let's think about Simon, who's the late bloomer. And then let's think about Theodore, the consistent.
Okay, give everybody a moment to process those names, because when we were doing show prep, I was like, guys, don't go through this slide too fast because I had too many positive things flood my mind. Okay, now we can go through the case study.
All right, so Alvin, he's the go-getter. He decides he's going to invest from ages 20 to 30. And he's going to invest $500 every month from the time he turns 20 until the time he turns 30. And then he's going to stop. Well, then you're going to have Simon, the late bloomer, and he says, you know what, I'm going to enjoy my 20s, and I'm not going to start saving until I'm 30, but I'm going to do it all the way until I'm 60. So I'm going to save for a nice long time. And then there's Theodore, who says, you know what, I could probably do both of those. What's it look like if I start at 20 and I just keep saving? And these 3, they do not save more. They save the same dollar amount every single month for their entire savings career. Well, how does this actually play out? Well, if we look at Alvin, you can see that over his lifetime, he only invested $60,000. And he only did it for 10 years. $500 a month for 10 years, $60,000. But by the time he got to retirement, when he got out into his 60s, his portfolio was worth over $1 million.
Hey, before you kind of start showing, comparing and contrasting, I want people to notice a very beautiful thing about compounding growth. Do you realize when you see $60,000 could turn into $1 million, 7 figures of wealth, 94% of that is going to come from just the growth in the account. Not your contributions. Those were the starting point, but the building upon itself, 94% of the account value is actually the growth. That's powerful stuff.
So if Alvin looked that good, surely Simon's has to look better because he saved so much more money. Remember, he started saving at 30 all the way out till age 60. Well, here's what Simon did. Simon actually invested a total of $180,000. That's 3 times more than Alvin. But when he got to retirement, when he got to financial independence, his portfolio was only, air quotes, worth $745,000.
Wow.
So he saved 3 times as much, but ended up with $250,000 less.
It's almost like when I talked about the 3 ingredients to wealth building, when we talk about the discipline that actually creates the margin that leads to having the money. That's the second ingredient. The most powerful of the 3 ingredients, though, is time.
Yep.
Time is your friend. That's why do not sleep on the wealth multiplier. moneyguy.com/resources. You can see what $1 can become for you. But Bo, wait, there's more.
Let's check out Theodore. What did Theodore do? He started saving at 20 and saved all the way out until age 60. And what you can see is that Theodore invested the most. He invested $240,000, but he was consistent. So by the time he got to retirement, his portfolio was worth $1.75 million, almost a multi-millionaire by only saving $500 a month. So if you can figure this out early and you can start early and you can be consistent, the future is yours. You can be like Theodore.
So let's summarize this case study and talk about what you can do if you are applying this to your financial life. Bo, the first thing is the best time to invest was, of course, yesterday or last year. But you know what? The next best time? Right now, today. Give me a little bit of today for that great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Do something today.
I love it. That's exactly the second point. Just do something. Maybe you can't save 25% like we say. Maybe you can't even max out your Roth IRA yet, but I bet you can invest $20 or $50 or $100 a month, and just doing something will start that snowball rolling down the hill to give you the needed momentum to turn into a financial mutant. So just do something and do it today.
And then I love, because this is what Theodore really maximized, always be buying. If you can automate the wealth building process, you actually create an inevitable wealth opportunity. If you can make the easy habits, or the good habits, I should say, as easy as possible, that is going to make this even more consistent and possible and probable for you as a financial mutant.
All right, Brian, let's talk about the second decision that turned out to be life-changing, that was a small
This
decision.
is going to be a moment in time that I realized, watch this. We're ready. Rock and roll.
So, Brian, let's talk about the second decision that was so amazing. Decision number 2, buying the book on podcasting.
Do you see this? I mean, how cool is it that this prop for the set, I feel like Carrot Top a little bit, was actually on the, it's one of those Easter eggs that's sitting right behind Bo every day. And if you've ever wondered, what are those books behind Bo? One of them is a book that changed my life. If you look at this book came out, I think, in 2004, 2005. It's podcasting, the do-it-yourself guide. And when I remember, a lot of things happened in 2005 that the stars just aligned. I got to go see Clark Howard live. One of my buddies was doing his tax work, and he invited me, knew I was a big fan of Clark Howard. I also got in that same period of time, right in the fourth quarter of 2005, I got my first iPod. And when I had that experience with Clark Howard, got my iPod, and I then had this passion, the heart of an educator, to always pay it forward and share the good news of making good financial decisions. I was like, voila, I need to be podcasting. And this book was the ABC, or the 1, 2, 3 of connecting the dots to make it all happen.
So why was this so significant, Brian? Because, I mean, anybody can go out there and start a podcast, but for you specifically, it was unique because it was the marriage of both your passion, something that you enjoyed educating, you had the heart of an educator, and your proficiency. You were pretty good at money. It was kind of something you dare I say, you were like a money guy who had information that you could share with the masses, and you figured out how to marry those two things together.
Yeah, I think it's interesting looking back, is I was not a good salesman. If people saw the trajectory of my firm growth, I just was not great at selling products or going out there and selling to get clients. But one of the things I have discovered, I have a big passion for education. And what's funny is that once I started sharing my heart and sharing my desire for the abundance cycle and people to learn, apply, and grow and be the best version of themselves, now we have $1 billion firm. Now we just have
clients
all
over
of our financial mutants that come to us when they reach that level. I think it's pretty incredible. And I'd love for people to think about what can they do? Because this is a very unique story about the podcast. But I don't think that, yes, this moment was unique, but I think everyone out there, every one of you financial mutants watching this content, there is something waiting for you to discover, that you have a talent that has been provided or blessed upon you that you do better than anyone else. And you can marry that with some type of economic thing. And there's probably something you can start building your great, big, beautiful tomorrow with.
Yeah, if you recognize, you take an inventory of, okay, what are all the things that I like, that I'm passionate about? And then what does the world need? What void exists inside of that passion? And is there a way for me to make money on that thing? Can I sell something that someone else would find value in and buy it from me? If you can marry those three things, it's amazing what that can create. And one of the interesting things, Brian, I think this is an early lesson that you learn, is don't worry about what the cool kids think. Because what's going to happen is your passion may not be a passion that everyone else holds. And the thing that you really want to do may seem crazy at the time. I mean, I got to believe when you bought the podcasting book and you said, hey, honey, I'm going to start podcasting. She said, you're going to do what now?
Yeah. One of the things that really warms my heart thinking about just when I get sentimental about my relationship with my wife is that I found out later that she did go to some of my friends and say, hey, don't pick on him about this hobby. I know it's nerdy. I know it's a little out there, because realize in 2006, no one knew what podcasting was. It's now kind of a household thing. But back then, this was a kind of a quirky little hobby that I had developed. And I thought it was very just sweet that my wife would go out there and kind of tell my friends, because guys, we're pretty rough on each other. We pick on each other pretty hard. But I think that there is a lesson. You think about all the teenage movies or movies about just coming of age, where I don't care if it's Can't Buy Me Love or She's All That. I think the secret that you find out in all these movies is that the popular kids, they're just as insecure as us quirky, nerdy kids. So don't worry about what the cool kids think. Really try to figure out what your passion is. And if you really do think it's something that you can add value to the world, even if it's kind of going in a different direction, lean into that. It's okay to be quirky, because we all know nerds end up conquering the world anyway.
I love it. All right, Brian. So we've talked about two decisions you've made. I want to talk about a decision that I've made that ended up changing my life. And I'm going to argue probably changed your life.
Oh, it did change
my
life.
Decision number 3, making the call. This was back. Brian had decided early on in his career, early on in the new firm, he was going to make his first full-time hire. And me, being a soon-to-be graduate of the University of Georgia, said, you know what? I am going to go interview for this guy. He came and spoke at our student association, and he was hiring for an intern. I said, I want that internship. So I went and interviewed with Brian, and I crushed it.
He did indeed crush it. He crushed it too well, though.
And so what happened is I waited and
I didn't call him. I didn't call him.
I didn't hear back.
I didn't want the conflict of telling you no. So I just was, because you would have probably tried to sell me on why you should be working here. And I was so worried, because realize I had come from this public accounting background. I had started my own firm because I had that moment of clarity after my father passed away. And then I spotted in you that you had this, it wasn't even just a glimmer of a spark there. You actually had this internal fire. I was like, I'm going to train this guy, turn him into a beast of the industry, and then he's going to go start his own firm. That was my fear. Yeah. But you did something that I think, and I talk about this when I talk about Millionaire Mission. I give some tips in here on do what others will not do. And that's one of the secrets of success. You did it, Bo. You are fearless, because you called me up out of the blue to ask me why the heck I had not given you the call to give you the internship.
Yeah, I wanted some closure. I wanted to understand, hey, I felt like I did this thing. I really enjoyed this firm. I really liked the interaction. What fell through? And I said, you know what, if he's not going to call me, the worst thing that I can do is call him and him say, oh, I didn't like you, or you weren't good, or you could have done this better. So I was going to learn something for it. So I called him and said, hey, tell me what happened. And after he walked me through, you crushed it and you did all these things and all this stuff was wonderful, I just kind of said, hey, man, I really feel like this is special. I really feel like this is it. I think that you ought to consider giving me this job. And the rest is kind of history. He said, you know what? Hey, maybe you should come into this. You can see this was me at that time in life. This was at that stage, that young man who had a bunch of misguided confidence. And then fast forward, now we get to do this show together and share the good news of financial independence with millions of folks every single week, all because of a single phone call.
Yeah, I love it. I was wondering if you go show the picture because you were kind of slow rolling the picture to let everybody. By the way, everybody who's out there listening in podcast land, I would encourage you, go to YouTube, look at this video. Bo's going to show what he looked like, of course, in his best red and black.
That's right.
And then also we'll show his future wife.
Yep, she was
now
my
his wife
girlfriend at the time.
Past a decade.
That's
right. You're getting older. And then you also see a great image of us in our full-on nerd wear with red and black headphones, mixer board, and my sweater vest to keep the core clean and warm, obviously. So, but here's the takeaway. What can you do? And I've kind of already alluded to this, and I even cover this as some of the key questions that I've written in Millionaire Mission is do what others aren't willing to do. I mean, that awkwardness of I can't imagine what your mind thought it could have been or uncomfortableness to pick up the phone and say, I'm going to call this person and then ask them why they didn't hire me. And what I love about this is yes, that's an awkward conversation, but it would have still probably bared a lot of fruit in both ways, no matter whether it's you finding out how you could do better in the next interview or doing what you did. You actually changed my opinion and I actually hired you right there on that phone call.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is I've always had the skill set that I am comfortable having the uncomfortable conversations. I kind of played in my mind, how bad could this go? If I call him, what's the worst thing that could happen? Well, he tells me I'm awful. He tells me I'm horrible. He tells me how bad I did. Well, even that is going to be valuable for me. And I have found in life that if I can be comfortable in situations where other people are uncomfortable, generally speaking, it kind of gives me a leg up. Either I'm able to learn something I did not know previously, or I'm able to communicate something that I was not previously able to communicate. So if you can figure out how to have that difficult conversation, put yourself in that uncomfortable situation and be comfortable in it, there's a really good chance that you can set yourself up for future success.
One of the life things that I've learned about this, I think you do it more naturally. I don't because I'm a little shy. I'm not shy, but I'm
Most
definitely.
people like to avoid discomfort.
It's hard. I'll do these things first. Do the hard stuff first. Don't procrastinate. That's human nature. As you say, well, I'll do that at the end of the day. No, do the hard stuff first, and then you'll enjoy the day more, and you'll be more productive.
I love it. All right, Brian, let's talk about small decision number 4 that seemed like a small decision, but ended up having a huge impact. And we said, for us, this was moving to Nashville.
Yeah, this one was, it was tough. There was several things. We had already been doing some research to thinking about, hey, we got to get into more fruitful area for Bo to spread his wings. And then also, I had some educational concerns.
Sure.
My youngest daughter it has some unique needs where she needed a special school. But then I had an older daughter who needed a great public school system so she could continue. So we started looking, and what do you know? We figured out that Nashville, or the Franklin area specifically, Williamson County, offered a lot of solutions, both economically for our family, really great things, but it was hard.
That's right.
Leaving what we knew. I'd lived 40 years in the same community. I knew a lot of people in the community. I had family in the area. I had a lot of friends, but we made that difficult decision, that small decision of moving to Nashville, and it's actually been great.
Yep. So we decided, you know what, let's give this a shot. So we did it. We loaded up the U-Haul. We moved up into Nashville. We set up here. And here's the side effect that we didn't realize was going to happen. Not only did it have those things, did it have the better school systems and the place where we could have fun lifestyle stuff, we were amazed at the people that it put us in proximity to. There are so many amazing creatives, so many talented folks in this area that just by being here, they became part of this organization. You guys all know Reby. Had we not moved to Nashville, there would not have been a Reby. And people like that infiltrating and influencing us was huge, and it allowed us to grow even larger than we ever thought possible, not recognizing that making that small decision for important reasons was going to have a huge, widespread impact on the firm long term.
So I'd ask you, let's transition this to what our listeners, what our viewers can do in their own life. And that's what, I love this. We share this all the time, is begin with the end in mind.
Huge.
Is that because if you're stuck in a situation, get outside of what struggles you have in the moment. Start thinking about, hey, where am I going 5 years, 10 years down the road? And I think if you will get outside of the moment and actually start thinking about where you actually want to be. It's going to let you open up and have alternatives or even make bigger decisions that can have those ripple effects that maybe in the moment you're going to overlook because you're just not thinking big enough.
Yeah, I think, and you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have the entire end figured out, but if you can at least have a vision of it, it will get you moving in the right direction. It will get you on the right trajectory. I remember very early on, Brian, your daughter was super, super young, and you said, but one of the things I'm worried about is she's going to grow up, she's going to go off to college, and she's not going to move back to this town that we live in now. She's not going to want to be here. What if I ended up in a place where maybe there's a chance, maybe there's the possibility that she goes off to college or does whatever, and she wants to come back. It's a community that she wants to be in. That was a very tangible example of beginning with the end in mind. If you can do that across the things that you face, across the decisions that you have, you'll be amazed at how much more intelligent and well thought out your decisions become, and how often you don't get off track. You don't start chasing something that is not aligned with your ultimate long-term goals.
Another thing I think our audience can do is don't let fear prevent the change. You know, one of the things I talk about, the hedonic treadmill is one of those things we talk about when we're consumption, especially when you have good things happening. You're supposed to, like if you have money come your way, you're supposed to spread out all the good decisions.
Sure.
Like when you upgrade your housing, when you upgrade your car.
Don't do it all at
Spread
once.
those things out so you get to enjoy the emotional ride of those dopamine hits and the other things that happen. But however, when you're facing difficult times, when bad things are going on, the opposite of this is with the hedonic treadmill, because we all will rise to our base level of happiness rather quickly, pile on those those hard decisions so you can get through this bad moment in time as fast as possible. Don't let fear keep you from making those hard decisions, because this is something that I see people do all the time, is that you're just scared to break the eggs or make those hard decisions. And I'm going to screw this up, but fortune really does favor the brave. So I want you to kind of lean into that discomfort, figure out what big decisions you need to make, and then go attack it and actually get to your happiness or your great, big, beautiful tomorrow that much quicker.
And I think if you can do this, what I have found, Brian, in my experience, is folks who do this are not the folks that end up with regrets. I mean, how many times you have a conversation, someone says, oh, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have started that business. I wish I would have moved. I wish I would have. If you can allow yourself to push through the fear of the short-term discomfort, make the decision, make the change, move forward, there's a higher probability you will not have regrets in the future, wondering, what if? I wish I would have. What could I have done? All right, Brian, so we talked about 4 decisions that we've made. Let's talk about the 5th one. And this one, it's pretty big and sort of appropriate given the context in which we are sitting here right now. It was starting our YouTube channel.
I'd like to say that this was deliberate, but there's this little element of, like I said, I talk about this all the time, is you never know what is the best day worked. And I'll never forget, our YouTube we were happy as we could be doing the YouTube. The podcast. Podcast was doing great. So well that Progressive Commercial reached out to us and said, you know what, guys, when we think about, we have a campaign coming up, because one of the biggest segments that Progressive Commercial works in is over-the-road truckers, these long-haul truckers. And when we think of long-haul truckers, we think of the Money Guy Show.
Of course. Who doesn't?
So we want you guys to create an 8-part series giving good financial guidance to over-the-road truckers. And we were like, you know what? Money is the same for everybody. We don't, we're not specialists in over-the-road truckers, but we're going to lean into this because I want everyone to have the access to personal finance. Well, we got the shows started. We agreed to do this. And then at the last minute, the producer for the series came to us and said, you know what? We need 2 of these shows, these podcasts that you're doing, to be videos.
Oh, a video? No, we're audio guys.
We're podcasting.
We're podcasters.
Maybe you need to go look up what podcasting is. We don't do videos. He said, you're going to do 2 videos. So we used this discomfort or this situation where we were requested to do videos, and we did go find a videographer to help us out. And then I think about the fact that we enjoyed creating those 2 videos, and that was actually the seeds that were planted that sowed us getting into YouTube, because we were like, you know what? Since we're already creating this content, why don't we add this visual element? And voila, September of 2017 was the birth of the Money Guy YouTube channel.
And here's what's beautiful about decisions like this. We didn't have it all figured out. If you look on the far left picture right here, very different studio than what we're sitting in right now. Very different setup. Now, Brian, consistent as he can be, still wearing a sweater vest. Big sweater vest guy throughout our history. But you can see that was the setup. That was how it started. But we recognized an opportunity. Even though we didn't know about YouTube, we didn't have the whole algorithm figured out, we made the small decision to move forward. And fast forward, it caused some traction. And then we hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. And now we get to sit here and talk to millions of you every week, all because of that decision to take a risk, do something we'd never done before, and it turned out beautifully. So practically, what's that mean for the audience? What's that mean for them? What can they do?
Yeah, I wanted to encourage you to be prepared for the opportunity. Specifically, I want you to create more luck in your life. When I think about the opportunity, what is luck? When I hear people say, man, that person is lucky. Look at those guys. They're lucky they have a YouTube channel. Do you know what lucky in that moment in time with YouTube was? Is that we had years of preparation. We had been doing the podcast since 2006, and then we had this opportunity come up where Progressive hired us for this campaign. So you look at that intersection point, the opportunity with that preparation of all those years, voila, I give you the luck of our YouTube channel being born. So that's what I'm telling you guys. Don't let somebody tell you you're lucky. You've got to create more luck.
So what that means is start now taking steps to be prepared. Maybe the thing you want to do is buy your first home, but you don't have a huge down payment. Well, you got to start doing something so that when that house becomes available, or when interest rates fall, or when home prices come down, you have been taking the small steps necessary to set yourself up to be ready for that. Maybe this is true in your career. You don't know the career change you're going to do, but you're going to go and start working on a different skill set, something a little tangential to what you do now. You're going to go get a certification. You're going to go do some education. You're going to go take a class. You're going to do something to figure out how to prepare yourself so that when the opportunity presents itself, it's something you can jump all over. But in addition to being able to jump all over it, you also have to know how to find and recognize it. And you have to be able to sort opportunities from pipe dreams. You have to be able to recognize, okay, this is something realistically that I can move towards versus, oh, you know what my opportunity, I'm going to go become a professional basketball player. Well, if you're 5'10" and you didn't play past high school, going to be really hard to be a professional basketball player. Recognize what real opportunities are that you can move towards and what opportunities are not actually going to be the reality that are going to manifest.
Yeah, I want to lean into the preparation side of this because I think, like you mentioned, a good example, housing. I know housing right now is tough. So a lot of people are focused on the now. Well, yeah, there seems to be an obstacle to getting a house. But why couldn't you, in the moment, start doing a little bit of prep? Like you start going, hey, I have a family. I think I need to figure out where the best school districts are for my community. Or I have a career and maybe I need to go look, just like we did with the move, and say, hey, where's the best place that's going to give me a career opportunity? Do I need to go ahead and do a little bit of preparation now to figure out where that opportunity could be the best? And that's what is going to create that luck, is that preparation at the intersection of that moment in time is going to make all this happen. So don't overlook this. I've started doing this on commercial real estate. I've started doing this on a lot of life experiences where I'll say, hey, why don't I do a little research on this now? So just in case something comes along a few weeks or a few years down the road, I will be prepared and be able to maximize that moment.
And then the last thing you have to do is you have to put yourself in a position to take the chance. A lot of folks want to sit back and let life happen. They want the opportunity to present itself, and then they want the opportunity to capitalize on itself. Well, a lot of this takes action on your behalf. So you have to be willing to take the risk, take the step, make the change, make the move, do the thing that is necessary to put you in the place that you want to be in the future. But it is going to take effort on your part. So don't sit back and wait for something to happen. Be an advocate for your future self.
There are so many things as content creators we've been working on for the last 18 years. And one of them is know what to do with your next dollar. And that's why we've even developed, if you go to moneyguy.com/resources, we give you the financial order of operations, the 9 steps to actually let you know what to do with your next dollar. That's a great, when we're talking about create more luck for yourself, more opportunity for yourself, this is going to be your preparation guide. And if you actually want to help know the what to do, but also the mindset stuff. My book, Millionaire Mission, is kind of the marriage of those two things, because I give you all the origin stories. I give you my own journey, my mistakes, all the things that have worked in the past for us, so that you can actually create the best version of your life. So your army of dollar bills know exactly what to do to create that great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
What I love, Brian, is that small decisions, seemingly insignificant decisions, can have huge impacts. But it requires effort on your part. You need to recognize the opportunities that present themselves. You need to begin with the end in mind. You need to tune out the haters and all the cool kids out there and recognize, what is the future that I want? What's the outcome that I want later on in life? And what are the small incremental decisions I can make today to move me towards those ultimate goals?
It's almost like there's a better way to do money. Learn to respect the foo. I'm your host, Brian, Mr. Bo Hansen, Money Guy Team, out.